the thunder anyway, guys. This series this week, we've been talking about selling like a scientist. What does that look like? Are we being tactical, strategic, scientific about our approach to building a business, to raising our efficacy, to increasing our conversions? Man, the first day we talked about why people really buy, right? Is it the emotions? Is it the logic? Which one outweighs which? And as we discovered, it's the emotions first, and then they justify with the logic. The next day, we talked about words that work, how the brain actually responds better to simplicity, to safety, to your tonality, right? When we break down the communication in its data, we see the percentages are 7% of communication is the words that we actually say and the words that we use, the things that we say. 38% represents tonality, how we say it. What is the volume? What is the velocity? What is the pacing? What is the melody behind it? And 55% is the body language. Are we paying attention to how we are coming across when we're using words, working to get them to close? Today, though, today we explore the invisible. Today we look at what real closers do, and they don't just speak really well. They see really well. They notice micro shifts. They read tonality not just in themselves, but in other people. They catch hesitation quickly. Guys, a lot of sales, it's not just persuasion. It's about pattern recognition. I had someone in the room yesterday that I really respect came out to watch Bold. Shout out Gabby, and she was giving me feedback. She said, "You have a really strong ability to read the room." Guys, I know that comes from years of doing this sales stance, years of coaching, years of paying attention. Are you going to be the one who raises your ability to spot patterns? Because that is going to increase your efficacy, increase your ability in communication, in sales, heck, dude, in personal relationship building. When you do this, you're going to learn to close faster. You're going to learn to serve better. You're going to learn to lead deeper. So if that interests you, you're in the right spot, man. Let's dive in today. One of the things I want you to take away from this and wrap your brain around is the simple fact that your buyers, the client, the person you're speaking with, your spouse, your kid, your friend, whatever, everybody is always broadcasting. People are broadcasting whether they realize it or not. Every person is a walking signal tower. Most people just don't know how to tune into it. Before your buyer ever says yes, before your seller ever says yes, their behavior says maybe. Now, if you're thinking about this and you wanted to break this down into some key aspects of it, there is let me put an asterisk on this. There is a lot of nuance here. That's the point. Are we paying attention to the nuances? Now, here are 4 main categories that I decided to put this in. Are there potentially more? For sure. But we only got like 20 minutes together, so we got to do a high level, quick run through. The number one thing that I want to look at with you guys is pacing change. When you are talking about having a conversation with people and tuning into their broadcast signal, are you paying attention to their pacing? If we're talking about sales specifically, when they start talking faster or slower, it's usually when something is landing emotionally. The question to you is, what is landing emotionally? Now, if they're starting to talk fast, one of the things that it usually signals is excitement. When we're talking fast, excitement is usually present. Here's the trick. Here's why everyone can't do it. Here's why it's simple. It's not easy. Not only can it show excitement, it also shows overwhelm or anxiety. So you have to read between the lines and pay even deeper attention. So when people start speaking faster, it signals excitement or overwhelm or anxiety. You have to tune in to figure out which one it is. Now, if they're speaking slower, if their pace drastically drops, more often than not, it shows that they're processing what you're saying. They're thinking about it. It's rolling around in their brain. The gears are turning. But again, the duality of this is it can also show resistance. It can be processing, they're thinking about it, or it can be resistance. You got to tune in and pay attention. So, pacing change is a very important signal to notice. The next one is their tonality. Is it dropping or is it raising? For instance, if you notice that their voice lowers, that can show you that they're sitting in uncertainty. It can show you that they're sitting in some sort of internal conflict. They're giving you the signals. They're telling you without telling you, are you slowing down and listening? When their voice lowers, it can signal uncertainty or internal conflict. If it gets raised, it shows curiosity, but it can also show defense. Understanding the dynamics of psychology and communication when we're conversating with people, when we're interacting with people, is going to make or break the result. So we've talked about their tone, whether it's lowered, whether it's raised. Here's another idea. If it's flat, it probably signals disinterest. What you have is not interesting. What you have is not of value. What you have is not of contribution. You got to pay attention. So we talked about pacing. We talked about paying attention to the tone. Another micro trigger to look out for is if they repeat or rephrase what you say. So if they say something like, so what you're saying is, that's processing. They're bridging the gap from logic to belief. They're bridging the gap. Hey, so what you're saying is, that's processing. Another thing to pay attention to for repeating, if they say the same question to you multiple times, either the exact same way or slightly different, it means that they're not sold. It means that you have a gap that you haven't filled. Pay attention to that signal. This is not rocket science, and yet it is the nuance that most people avoid going deep in, and it keeps them stuck at good instead of great. The fourth micro trigger that I want you to pay attention to, I desire you to pay attention to, is silence. Silence. You see, even as I sit there in just a couple seconds of silence, what happens? The mood either intensifies, maybe it gets awkward, maybe it allows for more thinking, more processing. Most salespeople panic here. Heck, most people panic here. Most people cannot deal with the silence. Why? Because sometimes it's awkward. Guys, silence means that pressure is working. Silence can mean that the decision is being made in the quiet. Don't rush it. Let the tension breathe. Every twitch, every pause, every deflection, those are breadcrumbs to the sale. Those are breadcrumbs to leading. Those are breadcrumbs to converting. Those are breadcrumbs to getting the person to where they desire to be. It is time that we slow down and attack this thing called sales like a scientist and pay attention to all the aspects of it that are being broadcasted to us. The next one I want you to think about when we move into this next section, this next segment, is mirror matching and what I call neural safety. Mirror matching and neural safety. A line that I desire you guys to remember is this: sameness creates safety. Sameness creates safety. Safety creates permission. Human beings are wired to trust people who feel familiar because it triggers safety, it triggers comfort. Notice I said familiar, not fake. Authenticity is key here. People can spot a fake from 50 yards. Are you familiar and are you often words? Are you authentic? Let's just go with that. It's Thursday. It's fine. People trust familiar, not fake. Guys, here's how to create subconscious comfort in a sales conversation. Number one, you may have heard about this one before, mirroring. It's subtly repeating part of what they said, subtly, not a parrot. You are not that toy that we had in the 90s, the yak back, where you say it and it comes right back out. So, like if a client says, hey, we're trying to figure out something that feels like home, you would say, feels like home. Tell me more about that feeling. I didn't repeat word for word exactly what they said, but I did use key phrases or key words from their statement and sent it back in a mirror. Another idea is I want you to match energy. If they are slow and thoughtful, you are not coming in hot and fast, guns a-blazing. You need to meet them where they are first and then lift the tempo or slow the tempo gradually depending on the outcome that you seek. Match, then lead. The next one is identify language patterns that they're using and use them as well. If they're using words like safe, secure, long-term, reflect those back. That's identity aligned language. If you have a person who says dude a lot, say dude. We are looking for familiarity in language patterns. The next thing I want you to think about is micro yeses. Your goal is to stack momentum through small agreements. Would it make sense to see what that might look like? Are you open to a quick comparison? These are low friction paths. These are low resistance questions that you can ask that lead to a bigger yes. Hey, can you see the value in that? Mirroring isn't manipulation. It's calibration. It's collaboration. It tells their brain, you get me. You understand me. You see me. You're not treating me like a paycheck. You're treating me like what I'm talking about is important. Who I am is important. Tell their brain the simple statement, I get you. I see you. I'm here with you. I'm here about your agenda and not mine. The next segment in this talk today, guys, is pattern recognition in objections. Objections are predictable if you study the pattern. You see, most salespeople, they dread objections. Scientists, they study them. They look for resistance. They want to understand it. Are you coming at it with a mindset of understanding? Are you coming at it with a mindset of fear? How do you decode objections instead of reacting to them? How do you respond to them? For instance, here's just a rough idea of some objections that I wrote down to look at the root pattern of them and how to think about addressing them. One of the ones that you will hear in sales across any field is it's too expensive. The objection is it's too expensive. The root pattern fear there, more often than not, is the fear of regret or the fear of being wrong in purchasing it. Your job, your goal, how to address it is anchoring the value, coming back to the value, having them author the value themselves, future casting an outcome. Another objection type that you'll hear often. Let me think about it. Let me think about it. What's the root pattern fear there? It's the fear of pressure. Oftentimes, it can just simply be the lack of clarity. How to address that? you got to reduce the risk. You got to sell the exit. You got to offer a safe next step. You got to slow down and identify where their questions are and communicate the education and information that they need to make the informed decision. Hey, I totally understand that you got to think about it. It's a big decision, and I probably haven't even given you enough information to make the correct decision. Let me ask you, when you're thinking about it, what are some of the things that you're thinking about so I can offer you some more information so you, when you are thinking about it, safe exit, can make the right decision? An objection that I hear a lot: I'm not ready. Guys, fundamentally, foundationally, they just might not be ready. And that's okay. However, if it is just an objection and it's based in fear, it's probably the fear of timing or the fear of failure. You need to isolate that trigger and figure out what is underneath it. Is it the time? Is it the money? Or is it the trust in you? The trust in the product, the trust in the service? The final objection to think about here is I want to shop around. Hey, love that, but I think I want to shop around. I want a couple more opinions. The root pattern there is a fear of missing out, a little bit of FOMO. How do you address it, guys? You've got to position yourself with a unique edge and offer a reverse FOMO. Is that through timing? Is that through this offer closes? Is that through your schedule is filling up? Twist it on its head. When you start to pay attention to these objections, when you start to look at not just the surface level, but scuba dive down deep and you understand the root patterns of the person and their psychology, you figure out and you learn how to address it properly. And that takes away your own fear of rejection and resistance and makes you so much better at actually leading people through their fear to what they actually desire. The words always sound different, but the fear is still the same. If you're looking for a way to take a scientific approach to resistance to objections, track your last 20. What are the last 20 rejections that you got? What are the last 20 objections that came your way? Put them in a spreadsheet. Label them by the category, not by the quote. You'll start to see a fear pattern, and that'll help you understand what you're actually up against. Now you can build a targeted response. As we're moving through the end of this, the last piece of the puzzle here, pay attention to pre-close signals. Can your words grease the wheels of a track towards a sale? Yes. Can they halt a sale? Yes. So you need to pay attention to pre-close signals and stop over talking, because by the time they say yes aloud, they've already said it just inside of their head. So here's a tactical checklist for you to pay attention to some of these green lights. Number one is they start to imagine ownership. Hey, if I were to move in, hey, you know what? I'd probably put my couch here. I can see myself doing work here. I can see hosting Thanksgiving here. They're future pacing themselves in the property or in the thing. That's a buying signal. Lock in. Another thing that is a green light, they start to ask about next steps. They are future pacing what comes next. I like where we're at. I like this idea. I like where we're going. Now what happens? How fast can we move? When should we start the paperwork? Another green light is they start shifting from exploring to comparing. How does this one compare to that one? That means they've accepted you as an option, and it's time to become the solution and not just the option. One of my favorite green lights is they talk about we, not me. The decision has moved from solo to a team. The buy-in is being socialized. My final green light for you to pay attention to is they physically lean in, they physically sit up, or they physically get still. Remember, body language is 55% of communication. The body follows belief. If you catch these cues and miss the close, that's a data fail. That's you not being a scientist in this game and not paying attention to the data and the research available to you. A scientist doesn't ignore a signal, they respond to it. My challenge for you today isn't about what you say, it's about what you see. Next time you're in a sales conversation, stop focusing on what's next. Focus on what's happening right now. Be where your feet are. Be locked into the conversation, not just the words that are being spoken, but the body language and the tonality that the person is representing. Everyone is broadcasting a signal. Are you tuned into it? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sales is 80% noticing and 20% saying. If you're not reading the cues, you're guessing your way to a maybe. I trust this was a helpful Thursday for you. I trust that you guys are going to put this into action today, and I trust you are going to make it a stand up and stand out day. Let's go have a day today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, it is an honor to be here with you in the morning for your daily checkup from the neck up. Kyle Evans signing off this morning.